to take the next step forward. And it was just a matter of them showing them the film and showing them the standard of how they're going to be coached, and them receiving it the right way. And hey, you know, they want a lot of big things for this football team. They want a lot of big things for their futures after this place. And there were some things they really need to work on. Legit, it was legit, and just film validation showed them, and they received it well, and that's what we've been doing every day.
Was there anything in particular with either one of them that you wanted to really maybe kind of modify?
So the instincts are there, but not necessarily the understanding of what they're doing. They were always reacting at a high level, at an elite level. Now it's time to anticipate. All right, in order to do that, you got to learn defense. You got to understand how your formation is going to set a defense, and how that defense is going to fit that formation. You got to understand linebacker flow. You got to understand indicators and pass protection. All that stuff was not developed, right? So they had a huge learning curve as far as that's going, and we're trying to slow the game down. And to be quite honest with you, the game is just now starting to slow down for them on those things. You know, so it was a huge learning curve of just taking their learning to the next level. To be elite, that's what it's got to be.
Was there a moment in camp with either one of those guys where you saw what you were teaching them all off season come into action on the field?
Yeah, every single day. You know, that's the one beauty about those two, is that you can drill it, you can coach it on film, and you're going to get the carryover in practice. That's what you want, right? You know, it's just you got to stack it. You just got to do it one thing at a time, right? You know, not to overload their thought process. Let them focus in on one thing at a time. So we just kind of just spreading their weaknesses out over the camp time, and it's been great.
Stan, how do you divvy up snaps when you have two veteran guys and then so many young guys kind of competing for those backups?
Yeah, that's a common question I always get. Well, you know, they're a part of the game plan. You know, when we sit down and we go through the practice scripts and all that stuff, I make those two guys look at their scripts together. All right. What reps are you going to take? What reps are you going to take? You know, I don't want them taking the same reps, so we split the reps if there's a similar play within a play call or whatever it may be. And we just even them out. I'm always tracking the numbers, always tracking their power loads, making sure they're set and ready to go. But they're taking even reps right now.
And then what about the younger guys? How do you kind of work them into it when you have to establish?
Yeah, after our first scrimmage this past Saturday, you know, we're still trying to find out who's going to be the 3, who's the 4. You know, who are those guys? So it's been, how can I say it, based on performance. You may be running with the 2s today, and if you have a bad day today, you're going to be running with the 3s. So it's a creative way of creating competition. They're very competitive that way. They understand that the competition's in the room. All right, and so every rep, whatever rep they get, they are really taking it with some intentionality, which is really good to see.
Cam had a serious injury last year that he could come back from. James talked about that physically. He's back, working through some of the mental stuff that comes along with that. How have you seen him?
Every day getting better. Every day. He had a better day today than he did tomorrow. You know, so if he keeps stacking that, I mean, I think he's going to be to the point where he's going to be game ready. You know, it's just a matter of confidence, though, right? You know, every day he gets a little bit more confident on those ankles, and he's been doing a phenomenal job of learning the plays. It's just putting the execution behind it with some confidence. It's all we're waiting for.
As a coach, when you're coaching someone who went through what he did physically, what do you kind of do to give him that confidence to maybe help them along a little bit?
Well, it's been his journey. You know, I think the training room has done a phenomenal job. The strength staff's one of the best I've ever been around, if not the best I've been around. Thanks, Trout. So he understands the resources that are around him are elite. All right, that's not their first rodeo with injuries, right? And they know what they're doing, and they've done a phenomenal job of getting them back. Now it's on him, right? I mean, I see the movement patterns. He can do everything that I'm asking him to do. It's just a matter of him believing it and doing it with some confidence. That's all it is.
You talk about those guys, the younger ones especially. For them going on the field, they may see running as the sole job, but when they're getting ready to step on the field, what do you kind of tell them that is their job as they get ready to play?
Yeah, it's the essence of the play. Whatever we're asking them to do, I ask them to do at full speed. You know, you just can't play running back and run the football nowadays, right? You know, especially in this offense. So there's a lot of skill sets that they need to be developed, and that's probably why it's taking a little long to develop those guys right now. But every time we get a chance to go against our defense and what they're presenting out there every day, we're getting real live game reps. I really believe that. And with every rep, these guys get better. Yeah, their job description is huge. They have a full plate, you know, but I think they're managing the workload of what we're asking them to do pretty well. It's just the execution piece. We got to go out here and do it every single day.
And what about Nick and Fat? You know,
Pretty terrific
some guys.
tight ends, and you've been very talented every time your name's been called upon. I guess my question is, was it tough, or how did you learn to kind of stay patient and just kind of wait for the opportunity, when you get it, kind of make the most of it?
So like how I knew because coming from high school, I was playing receiver. So, you know, when Penn State told me I was going to play tight end, I knew I was committing to tight end when I committed here. But, you know, that first year, you know, you're smaller, you know, you kind of just taking, learning, mentoring just from these guys. You know, Brent, Theo, Tyler did a great job. Even Grayson Klein, you know, he was here too. Just did a great job just mentoring me and, you know, showing me the standard and, you know, tell me everything what and what not to do. So like by the time by my time, I was ready to play. So, you know, they just did a great job, and we just do a great job of just teaching each other, you know, holding each other accountable. I don't think it's really much of a difference because we all knew we all had the same process almost. Theo had the same process with Drayton, and then Tyler had the same process with Theo, and you know, same with me. So it's kind of like a trickle down effect. But you know, we all know what we have to do. We all know what we're being taught to do. So, yeah.
Can you talk about how far the tight ends, all of them that you've talked about, have come? How far they've come as blockers in the run game from when maybe you first got here? James early on was like, hey, I don't want guys who are big tight ends in high school.
Yeah.
I want complete tight ends. And it just seems like maybe since the 2022 season, maybe that you guys have gotten better and better and more impactful in the run game. Can you talk maybe about that transition?
Yeah, so, you know, when Brayton Strange was here, that's when I mostly learned my blocking from. You know, he was a great blocker. The way he, you know, had his feet set and the way he strike people with his hands, he was always tight. You know, Theo and Tyler, they were good blockers, but I think more specifically, Brayton had the right, you know, techniques just to get it done. And that's kind of where I took my learning from. And, you know, I was always asking them questions, you know, like how'd you fit your hands and, you know, how'd you beat them to the gap, you know, so quickly and easily. You know, Theo and Tyler also do a good job, you know, doing their job. But I think, you know, all just us learning from each other again, you know, we always, one thing about us tight ends, we're always teaching each other. Every play, we're always talking about, what could have happened or what went wrong or what, you know, doing a good job on that play. So I think us just being accountable with each other just helps us teach, you know, the techniques that Ty Howell's teaching us.
Does it help that you and Brenton kind of share a similar style? Like, you kind of have similar games, it almost seems like. Does it help that, that translation, maybe you can do it in a similar way to the way he did as opposed to a guy like Tyler?
You know, in a way it kind of does, but, you know, me, Theo, Tyler, Brenton, we're all different players. You know, we all have our own unique aspects. And me and Brenton just happen to be good at blocking, and then, you know, Tyler and Theo just, you know, good at whatever else they do. You know, Tyler always can make plays. You know, I call him clutch, you know, because he definitely was clutch for this year. You know, Theo was a big dude, big physical guy. Definitely want to have him on there, just, you know, get the ball in his hands. But yeah, I think us having such diversity in our tight end group is just what makes us so special.
When you lay a really good block on somebody, how does that feel compared to maybe getting a touchdown or a big catch?
Almost feel just as good. You know, you don't get as much credit for it, but, you know, internally, you know, you did your job, you did your 111th, and you know that block could have been the big block for, you know, Nick or K-Tron running for a touchdown. So, you know, it's just an internal thing. You know, you just gotta, you know, pat yourself on the back a little bit. Your coach is obviously, you know, hyping you up, but you know, it's just something that, you know, doesn't really get recognized a lot. But, you know, you can kind of just give your own props to it.
How would you describe yourself as a receiver? We saw you do a lot of that dirty work you just talked about. But what do you think of yourself as a pass catcher? What's your style or how you feel like you play?
I would say I'm fast, you know, as a tight end. But I think I still need to work on it, you know, just being strong with my hands, catching through, you know, cut through cat traffic. But, you know, I'm still working, still trying to be the best me. I do things right, do things wrong, but I think my receiver skills is, you know, still getting up there on par with my blocking.
How do you describe Coach Howell's coaching philosophy approach? How would you describe him as a coach?
On a scale of 10 out of 100, 1,000, Coach Ty Howell, he just does a great job of making it so easy for us to learn. We have so many walkthroughs, we have so many jog-throughs. He's so poured into the process. Him and Dave Rocco are just so poured into the process and getting us better. So I think them just being them is what helps us be better. You know, they're great guys, you know, on and off the field. You can talk to them about anything. That relationship they built with us is just what it makes it so easy just to talk to them about really about anything. So, you know, love him, love Rock, and yeah.
How does it feel to be on the freaks list?
I just found out about that like 2 days ago. I didn't even know what it was, but you know, it's
You never heard of the freaks list before?
I'm not on social media a lot.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's definitely an honor. I'm gonna take it not with a grain of salt, but yeah, it's definitely an honor for sure.
When the motto really has been unfinished business for a lot of the guys, but you can only take it one day at a time. But when you show up, you camp, and you practice, and you look around and go, so and so's back. So and so's back. What's that kind of quiet, confident feeling like? You know, I know you guys probably understand.
When we have guys coming back from last season?
Yeah, just guys that, you know, you may not have expected to return, but he's back, and just, you know, to see how loaded the roster is, and to what's that emotion like at this point in the year, I guess.
You know, it kind of, at least coming from last year, like having Ty back, at least like brought me confidence. I'm thinking him and Theo are gonna leave. You know, coming to that, I wasn't sure if I was gonna if Tyler did leave, I wasn't sure if I was gonna start that year or who knows what's going on, because I was dealing with my own things on and off the field. So, but you know, being there and, you know, just having that that process that you're going through, it's just, you know, it's something else sometimes.
What's the most important thing that, as a team, you guys need to accomplish this time of year? It's a long season, it's a long grind. What are the main things that you try to accomplish this early in the camp?
You know, execution, making sure we're getting our plays right. You know, obviously it's a longer season, so we gotta make sure we're taking care of our bodies. But we gotta do that at a cost. So, you know, we gotta get the right reps. We gotta make sure everybody's right, even like the 3s and 4s. So we're trying to make sure that we get everybody who can be a possible addition. You know what I'm saying? We want to be able to use everybody on the team, not just one person. I think that's the one thing we're doing better this year. I think in past years we were just like so brought in on one person. Even like from last year, obviously we highlighted Ty, but it was more of a collective group that made Ty look so, you know, highlighted. But yeah, I think it's a collective thing.